Now we're
Okay, now
live.
we're live. Now we're live.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
odd.
Yes, we are on a new platform. We're using Restream to do the show, so it's interesting. But welcome everyone to another show where we talk about something related to perimenopause and menopause. We are so excited to have Mr. Stanley Green with us, and he's going to share about changing beliefs. Today is going to be a really interesting conversation, although it's going to be a short show today. It will be really interesting. So let me get started by letting my guest speaker introduce himself, and then you could pass the mic to Paula to introduce herself. You can go ahead, Stanley.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, Lisa, thank you so much for the invitation, and great to be here with you, with Annie, with Paulette, on such an important topic. Of course, I'm the president of Power Thinking Corp. We focus on helping people to develop these inner strengths, seven inner strengths, from emotion regulation to impulse control to empathy, self efficacy, in a way that helps them to bounce back, be positioned to bounce back from any of life's adversities. The things that get us down cause us to be anxious, angry, or sad. We can actually bounce back. This is all evidence-based material. We can bounce back faster from those adversities, and so I'm really excited to be here. We have a brand new mobile app that actually helps to drop, nuggets and information to keep people positive, to keep people resilient over time. And so we're really excited about that. But most of all, I'm happy to be here because when you and I talked some time ago, we had a discussion, and I concluded that there's a lot of work that men have to do as it relates to menopause, um, and the empathy, the understanding, and even though I've been married now for 42 years, there's still work that I need to do as it relates to the understanding and the empathy. We think we may know, but we don't, and our loved ones will constantly remind us of that. So while we can't be in someone's shoes, we can do more work to be there for them. So thank you again for having this session, and consistently, and for uh, inviting me to be part of this. It's quite an honor.
And we're certainly happy to have you here. Let me pass the mic quickly to Paulette and Annie to introduce, because I know you have to leave in a bit. So Paulette, let's the couple people who don't know you, let them know who you are and what you do.
So, Paulette Hallam, children's author, used to be a business exec, got to the giddy heights, then gave that all up to become a children's author and therapist. And now I'm here on LinkedIn, hoping to be making a difference with parents and children throughout, hopefully, the world, but we'll see where we go with that. Over to you, Enio Sung.
We're a bit early today, so all right. Turn the camera on then. All right. So we're going a bit early today for mine. Also, I'm used to, so I'm trying to do many things at once, but I'm here. I do what I always do. So if I'm not here, I'll be publishing someone's book, Yolanda's book today. In between that, I do some decorating and some sleeping. Yay. But
Well,
we're
I'm happy
here.
to
We're
hear
here.
the sleeping part.
Well, yeah, and I love a good nap. I was devastated when I got here after going home last week, and then my bed was flat. My inflatable bed was flat on the floor. It's like, damn. I got a new one now, so I'm all right again. Yeah, the mice
Okay.
can't eat me. Don't tell Paul like that. She's gonna hear me say mice.
Oh my God. No good on that.
Yeah. I want to hear what Stanley has to say. So our topic is, you know, it's interesting But I hope we're not. I hope we're not going to say men have no empathy. If anyone thinks that, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. That's what I want to do with most men who think that we have no heart, no soul. Obviously, we do. I'll leave it to you, Lisa.
Thanks for that. And if you're in the audience, please let us know where you're joining us from. Please leave a message in the comments because we're not going to see you otherwise, and we're trying out Restream, so I'm not sure if the comments are coming up on the screen for everyone to see, but I hope they are. My name is Lisa Favec. I'm a dietitian, author, and coach dealing with everything to do with perimenopause and menopause. And I am here every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. The daylight savings time is really messed us up this week. It's always hard to follow, but I'm really happy that we were all able to gather today because yes, the topic is important. Men, our partners, our friends, colleagues, our support system, and we want to find ways that they are able to communicate with us, we are able to communicate with them, to share our needs, to say what we want, what we don't want, what we expect, don't expect, so that we have that communication going. So, Stanley, you were talking about you being married for so long, but you still have things to learn. So, if you're talking, let's say, to a new group, and you're looking at changing beliefs surrounding maybe not just menopause but women's health issues in general, because I know every time we bring up that topic, men want to run under the covers, right? It gets very uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
where do you suggest we start with even having that conversation?
I think, we had a discussion, we talked about challenging beliefs. I mentioned that there are these 7 strengths that help us to bounce back from adversity faster. The ability to regulate our emotions and stay calm under pressure, whether it's anger or anxiety or sadness or embarrassment. Um, and then, there's that impulse control, the ability not to say or do the first thing that comes to mind. And certainly, if you're going to, be in a marriage for 42 years or more, that impulse control is critical, because sometimes, folks will say things to each other that they regret the second they say it. And so if you can avoid saying it, you're going to be a lot better off, and emotions on all sides are lowered. And there's other strengths, but there are also skills that help us to build those strengths. And one is challenging beliefs. If we take that impulse, control, that ability not to say or do the first thing that comes to mind, there may be some deep rooted beliefs that we have to challenge. This belief that, whatever you're thinking, that you should just go ahead and say it. And certainly that needs to be challenged. But most importantly, I believe it's beliefs associated with the importance of empathy and the understanding that there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. So, as I mentioned, it's been decades that my wife and I have been married, and it's just, the relationship continues to grow, especially given that now we have grandchildren and we're watching them. But there are times when my wife would remind me, because, as when the grandchildren, were born, she was very cognizant of what the mother, my daughters-in-law were going through, and my daughter and then my daughter-in-law were going through. And she would bring up, that, and make them aware that, hey, you may be going through postpartum depression. And that it is a thing. And then she would remind me that, hey, I went through that and you didn't know it. You just didn't know, and I just didn't say anything. And I thought, whoa, well, why not? And I remember in those years, being so busy and doing so many things, and she just thought that, and being, young and not very aware. She reminded me that, just based on how you were, it just didn't make any sense to even talk about it because you wouldn't have understood. Um, and then there's the next phase where, there's menopause. And, there would be the physical things that would come up, it's like, hon, it's, why you have the fan on? It's okay in here. And, and so those fluctuations in how she was feeling physically. And she's like, you just wish you guys would go through this so that you could understand. And I thought that, I was being somewhat understanding because I would make the adjustment. It was kind of still was kind of wondering, well, I'm feeling this way. How come you're feeling how that drastic of a change in your body? So so all along, I was still thinking and believing that I was being understanding, but the empathy level wasn't there, and that was confirmed when I took my own assessment. So power thinking, um, app users have access to an evidence-based assessment that measures, where they are with those strengths, with their emotion regulation, with their impulse control. And so I actually it will tell you whether you're above average, average, or below average in each of those 7 inner strengths. And I was actually above average because I've been teaching this stuff for 7 years. So you would think I should be above average, but there was one area where I was only average, and it was empathy. And I thought, oh my goodness, I thought I was super empathetic. But I perhaps was getting empathy mixed up with sympathy. I could say, hey, well, so you feel this way, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should do that, as opposed to just saying, hey, look, I'm here with you, and just being there for her, with her, as opposed to maybe making suggestions of how things around how things can be better. So it's challenging those beliefs that I was empathetic and I was being a super husband when there were some areas where I certainly could have improved. So this is all a process, and so if I want to make it to 50 years, I got to keep working.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned empathy versus sympathy. And I think many people get them confused. So, do you have a short explanation for what each one is and why we should focus on the empathy part? And then I'll pass the. Oh, I was going to pass the mic to Paulette after, but I don't know if she dropped off stage.
Yeah, without
But go
getting
ahead.
into it, without looking up the standard definition, just kind of give you a sense that, and what I found was that when I examined what I was doing and I saw the difference, I was very good at, I thought, helping people by coming up with some possible solutions or helping them to put things in perspective. Well, at least you may be feeling this way, but hey, at least you're alive, and other people may not have what you have, so it's not so bad. And that's being a little sympathetic, but then you're just trying to find the fixes, and that's not what people are looking for. So with true empathy, it is about doing your best to to be there, and be where they are, and just say, hey, I'm here with you, and we'll work through this together, as opposed to, um, well, let me tell you how I think it can be better.
You want to add something, Paulette?
Yeah. Sorry about the jumping around, but I heard every word. I was just, for some reason, I was flying around the internet. Um, I use an acronym, which is Why Am I Talking? Wait. Um, and I think that in situations like you just said, Stanley, I think it's really important that sometimes, and I'm a fixer too, so I've got very much the male dominant type fixing gene. And so I go headlong in, let me fix this, let me fix the other. And so what often I found is in a situation where you have very emotional people, very dysregulated people, people who are just needing to let it all out and let off the steam and da da, they don't want you to fix them. They don't want your suggestions. They don't want your solutions. They just want you to listen. So that's where the why am I talking? Like the wait, listen, hear what the problems are, then come in with the solutions. But don't try and go, yeah, I know just how to fix you. Because what you're going to get is like, rah, how do you know? You haven't got these hormones, rah, rah, rah. And then you're into confrontation. So it's very quick that it's a, it's a snap, isn't it? So, that's why your app's such a good idea. If you can use it to help regulate, then great. Anything that helps regulate is perfect. But I just wanted to say that, Lisa, because we don't want to be fixed always, do we? No.
No, many times we want for you just to listen, for us to vent, say what we have to say, get it off our chest, and for you just to listen. Something I know. I remember when Annie said, he just tells you wife yes there, yes there,
I do. You see that
and
that's my
sometimes
impulse.
that's really.
That's my impulse response.
Hmm.
My impulse response is naturally to say, "Yes, darling, you're right."
Yeah.
And then I think, "No, you're not right." Afterwards, and then I have a conversation about the thing. That's how I stay married. They say, but I agree with you, Sister Stanley. I think having control, not to have emotional outbursts, especially,
Yes.
then
Yes.
that's the real. That's the pitfall. That's where I think it's easy to fall into the trap of talking way too soon and saying way too much, saying the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
going.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
and
back to
that alone has helped helped our marriage. And it's not. It was more me from going, like it goes, like here to being just like this. It's amazing how something as relatively minor, seemingly minor, as not saying the first thing that comes to mind or doing the first thing that comes to mind can avoid these drastic swings, in relationships, or to the point where folks are starting to go apart as a result of it could be something that was said that triggered something, and it just escalates. There's so many relationships that could be saved just from the impulse control.
Yeah.
So many lives, take it outside of relationships, lives,
Yeah.
wars that started
Yeah.
because of lack of impulse control and
Yeah.
emotion regulation. So
Yeah, and I think that's where the understanding comes in. And that is what drives me to do this show every other week, to bring that awareness, because with our hormonal fluctuations, we can't help that swing. That 1 minute we're fine, literally the next minute we can go into a rage, and literally the next minute after that we could go into crying or depression, right? Those hormonal swings, especially if you're not aware that you're in menopause or you don't have access to the medication. So, like in the Caribbean, we don't have access to all the hormone replacement therapies there are. So, we're left to suffer, and most times I'm suffer in silence, right? So, we do get that anxiety, that depression, and then when we're trying to explain that to our partner, who literally last week we saw you were fine, and this week you're attacking us with the pitchfork. It's very confusing, and that's why divorce rates are highest around this time. So if our partner understood, okay, this is menopause, if the woman understood, okay, this is menopause, and we were able to have that conversation, sometimes I'm going to fly off the handle. Yes, hopefully I have the emotional intelligence to know, okay, after I have my episode, I come back and I have that conversation, I apologize. Maybe something triggered it, we have that conversation. But it's also for the partner to realize not to go on that journey with me. You must be the calm one, the understanding one, and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's fair, but if you knew that, okay, I'm going through menopause and this is what happens, then you are able to be that sort of rock that I need when I'm going through my turmoil, so that when I come back to my original state, we could have that conversation. So I love that we having this conversation with men. Okay, don't go on that crazy train with us. Don't try to meet us in battle, right? Because you're probably going to lose in any case. So let's not go there, right?
That's
Let's be
true.
the calm one. Even if you have to agree with everything she says, just so that the moment passes, and sooner or later we realize, okay, that was a moment. We didn't have control. We weren't able to have control. It's not our fault. But let's have a conversation after. Um, just wanted to run through some of the people who are here just to acknowledge them. Any are you seeing them on your screen? I'm not sure if it's coming up on LinkedIn, but saw quite a few folks.
I see them. So Natalie, thank you for moderating the comments. Natalie is doing a job of responding to everyone,
Yes,
which
thank you,
always
Natalie.
helps. But
Yeah.
Dr. Marcia is here, so we can take Natalie's word. But Yolanda's here as well. Welcome,
Mm.
welcome. To Linda, all the way in Canada. Now you're gonna start
Hi.
hearing from Linda more and more soon.
Yes,
So,
please. I've been encouraging her to do it. We need to
yeah,
hear her
yeah.
voice. Yeah.
We're almost there, right?
Okay.
Linda,
Good.
she's on her way.
Good. Good.
So Miss Sherry, who does some work for Sister Stanley, promoting power thinking sessions on
Yes.
Wednesdays. Yeah, so thank you, Sherry. So well done for joining us. So Christine is here as well. Christine Bailey. You haven't been to Christine's show. I don't know what day is it. I think is it tonight? Yes, this is last night. It was last night. Going towards mid. No, again, but the times have all gone funny with the US
Yeah.
time.
Just connect with people to follow
Yes,
them and get their shows, because it's really some
that's
good
right.
shows.
I agree with you. Alison, we haven't seen you for a long time.
Yes. Hi.
How are you doing? Hopefully, your part of the world is not too chaotic. You know, Professor Roxana, thank you for joining us as always. It's the amazing Jackie. I was on Jackie's show last night.
Yes.
Jackie's
So
looking
good.
for great guests, by the way. So Stanley, yeah. What's the name? Paulette. Hmm. Yeah. Jackie's looking for great guests, and I said I'll put my
You
friends
know,
forward.
yeah, Jackie and I, we had a conversation, our 15-minute connection call. It was fantastic. And I told her, oh, yeah, I'd love to be on that. And so, Jackie, I will reach out to you because,
Yeah. I'm sure it's in
yeah, I
the works.
definitely would want to be on
My
your
job is
program.
Yeah.
done. My job is done. I've done. Like, it was worth worth
No,
making
it's
my voice
interesting.
crack.
No, it's interesting because every time I see Jackie, it's like, I got to get back to Jackie because I want to be on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said I was on a show last night. She's a special kind of host. So
Yeah.
she has a heart
Yeah. She's
and
really
a
great.
genius as well. So
Hmm.
I got all day for Jackie, and I was just saying I recommend all my good friends to go. How we get Paulette on there is a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah. The time. I'm
The
sure the
Cinderella
time.
thing, yeah. Paulette's asleep by the time Jackie, wakes up in the morning, right?
Yeah. I'm
Sounds a bit
seeing two more
harsh.
people. Two more people in the comments. I'm seeing Alvin.
Okay, and just so Jackie says, I'll be catching up on what I've missed on my next day off. Hope that you and yours are well. Jackie was
Yeah.
on our show a couple of weeks ago, wasn't she? She was
Yes,
our
she
guest
was.
speaker, right?
It's a really great.
And Jackie's
Yeah.
doing what Jackie does, which is loads of comments, loads of great comments. Jackie, keep them going, keep them going. Yes, yeah. I so Jackie says, "Well, I'll be watching the playback. So I'm so glad you had a good event together. It wasn't, it was a great event today as always. But I said the show yesterday with Marsha, Dr. Marsha now. Yeah,
Yeah.
another doctor in my books. You know, oh, I haven't checked my calendar, so looking forward to it. So hopefully, then you can put Sir Stanley in there somewhere, right? And I'm sure he will shine on your show.
Oh, good.
Whether you do or not, I would recommend my friends, Jackie. You get to know them and you decide what happens next. That's what I can see on my screen, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm seeing that Natalie acknowledged Alvin and
That's
Ria Boudou. Hi, Ria. Yes, thanks.
it.
Thanks, Natalie, for acknowledging our guests. So, Stanley, I know that you have to leave in a bit,
Yeah.
but you talked
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
app.
So I'm going to have to drop off. I got a 6 o'clock that I have to prepare for. Um,
Sure, but the app
and
that
then I
you
have
talked
7
about, could
o'clock,
you
then I have
put
an
a
8 o'clock.
link
So,
in the could you put a link to your app in the show notes as well in the comments so that people can, or whoever we're supposed to connect to get to that app?
Don't worry. I will
okay.
show I'll show the video, the promo video for the app.
Oh, you
It's
have a
got it's got
promo
it's got my
video?
links on it. Yeah. I don't know what you think I've been doing. I do stuff when I'm here, Lisa.
Oh, well, look at
So
that.
so it's got my QR code on there now. So that's the one you want to scan and sign up through, right? That's the one you want
Oh
to do.
yeah,
If it's
that's
if
the
it's not
commission one.
premium.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the one, yeah, because we're all
And his
stupid
name
if we
all
didn't
over it.
notice that. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that one. I'm
So
just saying.
I want to just ask Stanley a question quickly.
Go.
There's so much going on
Sure.
with kids and social media and the chaos that is. Um, Part of the problem is parents not regulating their emotions with the fact that their kids are on the gadgets and whatever. Now, if you throw a woman who's in menopause in there as well, she's going to be short fused, right? So you've got a child who's not prepared to, do whatever, and your parents are arguing. There's menopause issues going on. Your app could be what parents need for them, because if they could regulate their emotions, they would handle the children better. They would handle each other better. And I can see that as being something that could work hand in hand with fixing the whole social media crisis, because parents are at such a loss as to what to do. And with menopause, as Lisa and I have been talking over the last year, I think now, we completely understand that we can be like we are now, and then we'll be like irrational, completely like as if we've just someone's lit a fuse. And there isn't an explanation. The kids screaming and shouting because you've taken their iPad off them, and you throw all that into the mix. We need a way of going, help! Where's the help button, right? Your system sounds like it could be
Yeah.
the help button that we need.
Yes.
Just a thought.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. I've seen it. I mean, I've actually, just today with someone who's part of our community where there was some challenges, and by them being aware and being involved with what we do, they were able to catch things that would otherwise have them, going off with intense negative emotions, and and uh, you know, the impulse to say something that, or do something that they would later regret. So what the app does is, you have Calm and you have Headspace, and they're about meditation. They're focused on giving, meditation exercises. But we're already at this high level of stress and so forth, and certain things, obviously, it's hormonal. It's very difficult to control, but there may be others where we can control. What we do is we help people to dig into, and again, it's evidence based. There was two 6 hour online courses that were created by the company that we acquired, and we've over the years have pivoted to what I think is the ultimate solution, and it is, just planting those seeds and reinforcing, those what those strengths are, and what the skills that we want them to practice are. For example, today we sent out a notification, push notification, just as Facebook and everybody else sends those push notifications on your phone. But the ones from Power Thinking are about reinforcing these skills that can help you, to actually regulate things, as opposed to you're going out of control, and then you say, okay, I need a meditation exercise. Well, now what happens is we sent something today out on something we're focusing on tomorrow and the rest of the week, which is avoiding a thinking trap. This is evidence-based, created by Dr. Aaron Beck, who is one of the fathers of cognitive behavioral therapy. We all know a cognitive behavioral therapy. Dr. Aaron Beck was one of the fathers of that particular area, as well as Dr. Albert Ellis. So Beck focused in the 60s on one's cognitions. That's why it's called cognitive behavioral therapies, one's thoughts, and typically will fall into these thinking traps. One of the thinking traps, and the one we're focused on when I sent out a notification today, was to remind people of, and that's what, avoiding thinking traps is about, being aware of what's going on in our heads. So one is called tunnel vision, where we may be fixated. You take the parents, for example, in dealing with their children and devices. They may be fixated on simply just grabbing the device, taking it away, and because they don't want the kids to spend that much time on the devices. So if the goal is to, we don't want them spending as much time on devices, is the only way to just yank the device out of their hands. Are there other ways? So tunnel vision, the thinking trap of tunnel vision is, well, there's only one way to get this thing done, when there may be a multitude, and there are a multitude of ways to be effective in getting them to reduce the time that they spend on the devices. So, and tunnel vision is just, and it applies to a lot of other things. Let's say embracing technology, for example. Some folks said, I don't want to know anything about AI, or whatever. But that's just one of 8 different traps. One is an obvious one. I mean, people, do it all the time, and it's jumping to conclusions. We're not talking about scientific jargon here. We'll easily jump to a conclusion about something without sufficient evidence, and that can trigger, a negative emotion. I'm feeling this way because I believe that this is what you're doing. Well, wait a minute. You believe it, but where is the evidence, right? But it's stuff that we do all the time. So what we do is we consistently put these things in front of folks so that over time they can recognize when they're jumping to conclusions, or when they may be overgeneralizing. Think about that, where that's going on in the world, where folks are saying, if you look this way, or if you're from this country, you can't come here, you're not smart, and all of these things that go on, they can be avoided. So thank you for that. I went on, but we're really committed to this because I've been doing this for 7 years, and it really works. We've seen people who would drive down the road and get cut off on the road, and their significant other would notice them, getting angry, when somebody cuts them off on the road. And over time, spending time with us, they see that their response is very different. It's mild. It's not as angered. It doesn't run the risk of escalating a negative situation to the point where, folks, are hurting each other physically. So yeah, and it applies to everything. Thank goodness I use it myself. And by going on over it over and over and over again, I catch myself now when I'm thinking something in response to, how my family members may be feeling. And I say, whoa, don't say that. Or, hey, you maybe jumped into conclusions about something, so let's not even talk about it unless you have some evidence. It is absolutely amazing, but it takes a lot of repetition so that over time people then internalize it, and they go, okay, I see what's happening with my thoughts. I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to make sure that I don't yield to what I'm thinking, because the reality is that just because I think it, it doesn't make it true. So,
I mean,
and just
I
because
think,
I feel
oh,
it,
go on.
it doesn't make it true, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and Lisa, the key for me is that as a mum and as a mum who went through menopause of sorts, um, I would make decisions about what was going to be happening when I got home before I even got home. I'd
Right.
already decided what the argument was going to be about because
Exactly.
I knew what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't going to be right, that wasn't going to be right, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you've got somebody who's as volatile and as you say, we're not regulated, we're not got control of our emotions, we're all over the shop. One of us needs to be able to hold the ship steady. And so,
Exactly.
if that can do that for that person, then somewhere that's going to help not just with the communication in a family, but it's going to help with the communication with the kids. It's going to help with the communication with planning how the devices get removed and all that
Yeah.
kind of conversation. But the definite understanding that when we are going through this, believe me, the argument's already happening in your head. You're actually arguing with yourself while
Yep.
driving home from the
Yeah.
train station, right? Am I right?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Agree
So,
with you, Paulette.
oh,
Well, folks, this
So
has been
Stanley,
a real
I agree.
pleasure.
There
yeah,
are a couple
Stanley,
of
I know you
questions
have
for
to
you, Sir
go.
Stanley. A couple of questions. If you have a minute or two to just have and I have a look at
Yeah,
which one you
sure.
can. So Natalie asks, says, what was the greatest catalyst to your communication epiphany regarding your wife? I suppose, if this is shareable. I mean, she's asking that. When was the moment you
Oh,
realized it was about communication, really, and the
Yeah,
restraints?
it's actually the result of the work that I do. I began to, as I, would present by doing it, and as you know, it's repetitive. Every Wednesday, we're talking about one of those inner strengths or skills, and I've been doing it for 7 years. Let me give you an example. So I mentioned when we took over this company, we had a 6-hour online course, and I took the course, and it was just great stuff. Those 7 inner strengths and the 7 skills, but just one exposure to something like that, makes us a little knowledgeable. Hey, I just learned something new. But in terms of changing anything, it's just not going to happen. But as I pivoted and got rid of the course as the way to help people to become, more resilient and more empathetic and so forth, and we did these weekly calls where we wouldn't be introducing new stuff and new, jargon and new science. It was the same because, these are common sense things: emotion regulation, impulse control, the self-efficacy, the belief that you have, control of your ability to succeed. And then the skills, the calming and focusing, making sure we're taking the deep breaths, being aware of these different thinking traps. Mind reading, it's a big one in relationships. So mind reading, and we would show a little video, and this video was Larry David in I forget the name, the TV series, a popular TV series, and it's just 60 seconds, and he comes into the door. Opens the door, and his wife said, um, "We need to talk." So think about that for a second. And he said, "It's over?" She says, "What's over? The marriage is over?" So he already jumped to this conclusion. So it was a combination of 2 thinking traps. One was jumping to this conclusion that she wants to talk about ending the marriage. And the other was the mind reading. He thought that he knew what she was thinking when she said, we need to talk. And actually, it was about an invitation to a party that they were supposed to go to. But this is what happens, and this is how fast things can escalate. And so she stayed on this thing. Oh, why did you automatically think that I wanted to talk about her marriage being over? Right? And they're going back and forth. So by internalizing these these skills, again, just focus on the thinking tracks. That's one of 7 skills, and that's a powerful one, because we can overgeneralize, we can mind read, we can minimize and magnify. That's another trap. It's minimizing the positive that's going on, but we magnify the negative. We make it a major catastrophe. And there's personalizing, where we beat ourselves up too much. Or the other one is externalizing, where we're blaming all of these external people and institutions for what's going on with us. And when you think about it, it's like, wait, this is common sense. There's now labels associated to the things that are happening in my head. And so once that I started internalizing this, I would be quick in picking up if I'm getting ready to say something and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute, Stan. You jump into conclusions about something, or you're magnifying something that's not really that big a deal. So let's not, react to it. It's as a result of presenting this and then internalizing it, I would then catch, myself in this erroneous thinking, and as a result, things are a lot smoother. I mean, we've hung in there, but now it's much smoother. It's not the big ups and downs, a lot because of what I do and because what she does. It is all possible, and that's what I've found. And when you see these little things happening, and that can lead to big things, especially with leaders. You think about the leaders that could use just what I'm talking about. Uh, I got one leader that I'm thinking about who's actually from my alma mater. And the swings and this person's impulses and emotions. So yes, it is through the repetition of the things that we share with people that actually help me. I internalized it, and it helped me significantly with my relationship.
Just to butt in a sec, Annie, I just thought
Yeah.
of another huge use for this is I did a lot of work for courts in mediation, whether it was children going to different parents, or whether it was breakups, or whether it was trying to family courts, bring people back together, to communicate. And when your emotions are so heightened and you're expecting a fight and you're going in there with the whole, I used to say to them, big fish, little fish. So I use it for kids, big fish problem, big fish reaction, little fish problem, little fish reaction. And they'd look at me and say, are we 3? And I'd be like, well, you're acting like it, and they'd be really shocked. But I think that is exactly what you're talking about, but put in different words. And I think that the terminology and the expression and the understanding could be hugely used in the judicial system, especially with
Oh,
mediation in the courts. Huge.
oh yeah, yeah. I talked about tunnel vision, and tunnel vision is kind of at the root of a lot of situations where people may be incarcerated unjustly, and where someone was fixated on, hey, this person did it, and we're going to consider all of the evidence, or what we believe is evidence that they did, and we'll exclude, you know, evidence that would point in a different direction. And that's going on, as you know, Paulette, for many, many, many years. And it's all goes back to that tunnel vision. We need a conviction. And we have a person here, and so everything that will point to this person being guilty, we're going to include, we're going to exclude. So we're tunnel vision. This is it. This is the person, and so we'll exclude anything that may contradict that. We do that in our everyday lives as well.
Yeah, and I think naming things, for me anyway, in therapy, naming things and saying this is that and this is that, and people going, oh, so he does that, yeah, but so do you, you know. But she says that, yeah, but so do you, and it would be quite
Right.
interesting that oh, well, this one says they're buying this present for that one, and da da da, but so do you. And that's really an interesting um, to call people out, but by naming what they're doing, i.e., using your terminologies, I can really see that there's a massive use within that courtroom mediation type role where you say, look, have 3 months with this each, and then come back. And let's see if we can
Oh yeah.
have this cooled, a cool meeting without all the heat. I think it could be huge, but I'll shut up now.
Well, it's actually. I mean, every single. Well, we have 8 billion people on the planet. Every single people can use it. I mean, a person can use it. I was in, and I've done this in Beijing and in Chongqing, China, and and I would ask the same question. Hey, if your boss taps you on the shoulder at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday and say, "I need to see you in my office on Monday," you know, what would you be thinking, right? And so, folks on the other side of the world, different language, different culture, that the same thought runs through. Oh, I'm in trouble. I think I'm going to get fired, right? And the same thing in Japan. I've done this in Tokyo, and I would ask the younger people. So the teacher, would say to you, "Hey, I need to see you after class." What will be your first thought? Oh, I'm in trouble. You know? And they may be saying, "Hey, you're doing great work. Keep it up." Right? So we jump to those conclusions. And so, yes, by labeling this, and this is really common sense labeling too. What I love about it, even though it's psychology, it comes out of the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center. And you may have heard, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Martin Seligman poet, but Seligman is considered the father of this new branch of psychology called positive psychology. And he came up with he actually proved in this theory that there is something called learned helplessness, where people, after being having this repeated failure to succeed or going through a traumatic event, one or more, that they can actually fall into this state of helplessness or powerlessness, where even though there's a way up, there's a way out, they don't believe that they can make it, when in fact they can. And that's when they proceeded to these skills and come up with these skills, and after decades of research and these inner strengths that are common sense stuff. But it just I was an athlete in college, and every day we would, after class, we would have 2 hours of practice of the same stuff that we already knew. And yet, from a mental standpoint, what are we practicing to ensure that we can regulate those emotions and those impulses, that we can believe in ourselves? What are the things that people practice on a daily basis to get there? You can go across the 8 billion people in the world, and you won't come up with a set of common things that we know that we should be practicing on a daily basis to ensure that we're in a better place. And that's
So
what
in an athlete, you call that muscle memory, right?
it
And with
is. Yes,
and then
we're
with your
building it.
mind, it's no different, right? It's just mind memory. And people have never worked that out. They've always thought that muscles are muscles and mind is mind. But actually, if we treat them the same, then you get a better result. And as my darling friend Lisa there says, every week or every other week, um, you know, we when we are in the thick of it have no control, and it doesn't matter how many buttons you give us. You can give us a red, green, amber. We're going straight to red. We can't go through the colors. We can't. We just bang, hit the
No,
red button, right?
I'm laughing because I think you both made important points, and I'm just like, yeah, that's so true. Your point earlier that the argument you're going to come to have at home. God, I see that every day, and I'm just like, I don't do what Stanley is. I don't do what Stanley telling us not to do, which is I don't wait to fight. We know what's coming. My kids know. We all know what's coming, and we just go, "Yes, darling. Yes, mom, or whatever." And then we let it go, and then we deal with it afterwards. So that's and because we're not mind readers. I love that way of putting it. We don't know what's. I think the issue is that yesterday we know what happened, and then we think we can predict what's going to happen today and tomorrow as well. Whereas, I think the point is that we need to just, yeah. I think maybe it's just be nice people, be nice loving people to start. That's the real point for me. Let's not be preparing for war.
Opening your mind up to just having a resolution
Mm.
is so much calmer and so much nicer than the war. But sometimes there's no stopping the war. The red button gets pressed, and we're like, "Whoa, we're flying!" And
It,
then
it, it takes two to fight. So
it
I
doesn't.
don't want
It
to
no
fight.
no, it doesn't. I can have the whole fight. I have the
Yeah, with yourself.
answers. I have the whole lot. And he's gonna say this, and I'm gonna say that, and
Yeah.
this is gonna. I've got the actions, and I know exactly how it's all gonna play out. And then I get home, and I've got this really calm,
Yeah.
chilled husband that's going, "What happened?" And you're
Mm.
like,
How
that
was your
wasn't
day,
how it was
darling?
supposed to go. That wasn't how it was supposed to happen. Have a cup of
Yeah.
coffee. No, don't be nice to me. I want to
Yes.
fight. I
No, be
want to
nice.
fight.
Be nice. Flip the script. Confuse them
I've got,
completely.
I've got the boxing gloves
No,
on.
no
Go and
one's
get out the car.
no one's
Come
gonna fight with
on.
you. No one's gonna fight with you. It's in
Hello.
my house. I'm just like, no, I'm at peace. I'm hidden in my study,
Right.
by the way. I'm safe out in my study where no one can get at me. So I hide away quietly. My kids hide away quietly, and then it dies down after a while. Then we all come out and go, "Are you all right now? Are
Is
you all
it
right?"
safe to come out? Have
Stanley, I
we
know
hit
you
amber
said
or green?
Stanley, I know
Yeah,
you
I
said
better
you have
get
to go.
going.
You overstayed your welcome. Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here with
Thank you
us.
so much.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you so
thank you
much.
so
We'll
much
we'll
for
connect
for
soon.
having me. This has been amazing, and I wish I could stay a little longer. Actually, much longer, because
Yes,
I'm enjoying
any
this, and
plan?
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to to share. So wait a minute, we have outside of the results of your. Oh, see that? I've got to see a little longer. What
Oh
would
my
you say
goodness.
helped you persevere through the
Blame Annie,
challenge?
okay? I'm trying to get you to leave to go to your other show, and he keeps putting
I
the
know.
pressure.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a 15-minute response. So
Yeah,
obviously,
that may have
outside of
to
the results, well, it would be so you have the EQ assessment again. It gets back to see the thing is people are always trying to find new tidbits and new stuff, and what makes what I do kind of boring is unfortunately, and I'm just going to stay with it. As you come to my Wednesday sessions, you're not going to learn much new stuff, new concepts. It's the same because when we get down to it, it's still back to our emotion regulation, back to our impulse control, back to our belief about ourselves, back to are we finding the root cause of a situation or problem, back to the most powerful of the seven inner strengths. Are we reaching out for help?
hmm.
Or are we isolating ourselves and trying to tough it out? Everything gets back to the same things. And
Agree.
so it's nothing outside of those powerful common sense strengths. Because if we can get stronger in those areas, and that EQ assessment measures it, let's take them all: emotion regulation, impulse control, empathy, self efficacy, optimism, causal analysis, and of course, reaching out, taking that action when we're faced with deception. No matter what it is, just do something and reach out to somebody or a bunch of people. We got it. That captures it all. So there's all kinds of things that new professionals will come up with and give them nice terms. Even the guy Seligman that created this stuff with his team, he came up with something else. He wrote a book called Flourish, and then he wrote another book. And he came up with all these other terms. I'm like, come on, I'm not going to buy it. You created a template. It's a great template. It works, and that's what we're going to stay with. And the skills, we all know them. You can stay calm. The big one is the thinking traps. Once we identify, where our thoughts, the names for those thoughts that are going awry, and it's like, okay, now I know what it is. I'm feeling a certain way. It's because I've jumped to conclusions with no evidence, or because I've magnified something and minimized the positive stuff. And we have exercises for all of those. So that is it, in my view. And it actually works. It's worked for me, and I've heard from folks where it's worked for them, and I'm sticking to it. Hey, everybody!
It was for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was worth being late for this other session. I so appreciate you giving me this time to go into a little deeper what we do and how this applies to everything. Yeah. So I just wish the leaders of the world would take this stuff.
Yes.
Instead of just shooting missiles at each other.
Emotion regulation, I tell you, wouldn't that be helpful, right? No, thank you so much.
Stanley. We need to have you back for our pods too.
Bye.
Yes, I agree. Take care. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let me welcome Mr. Calm. Mr. Calm's joined us. We see Mr. Calm. I'm not sitting up there. Lisa is the star of the show, so she can sit up there. So is Paulette. Victoria, superstar Victoria, I call her.
Hey.
My hero. How are you doing, Victoria? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, welcome.
That's
I'm seeing Mike here as well. Mike LeBlanc is here.
I haven't seen him yet. Who's
Annie, your song.
My song. He says he's going to make me a song, is he?
Already made it for you.
Oh, well, we have to invite him onto the show then.
Which one? I haven't heard it yet.
It's an ode to Annie. You'll have to listen. It's fantastic.
I'll have to. I haven't heard it yet.
It's on LinkedIn. It's on LinkedIn. He sent me a copy. I saw it.
Okay, yeah, I have to look for that then.
Mine says I can't. He sent it to you. I can't recommend NDEs enough to clarify life's priority. What's NDE?
Yeah, Mike, if you could just let us know what you mean.
I thought you two were gonna shout out, and then we'll know what it is.
I'm not sure what he's referring to. Let me not guess.
Okay. Yeah, you've had 2 minutes, so that's Mike again. 2 minutes. I appreciate you leaving. Christy.
Did you see Christy? Yes. Hi, Christy.
Yeah, welcome, Christy. Hey. Great to see you. So Tanique is here as well. How you doing? Yeah. Cool. Now, if I say to anyone, it's been a long time. Tanique, it's been a long time.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here now. I used to do your shows. I haven't seen a link recently, so I have no idea. Hopefully,
I know it's on a Thursday, I believe. So, Thursday at 12, or was it today at 12? Gosh.
So this is Lisa. This is your question for you. I'll come back to that in a second, Lisa.
Yeah,
you can read the question if you want. What's the next? Who's the next one? Dr. Leslie is here. Thank you for joining our positivity room on Friday. Yeah, it's a good company. Near-death experience is what Mike's talking about. Yes, near-death. Okay. Now we know what he means. Let's work out what he was saying, shall we? Okay, he's saying it recommends near-death experiences enough to clarify life priorities. Yeah, don't get
recommended, but yes, it does bring clarity.
Just get the power thinking app, and then you were
let's find an easier way to do that.
But I think I appreciate the point though, Mike. I think there comes a time when we realize the small things are really the small things. Actually, don't matter. Is that argument really important? No. If you were dying tomorrow, would you really care about that argument? No, really not. If your other half was on the way out tomorrow, would really want to have that argument? No. I think that's the point. I think that I take from your comments, Mike. The small things are small
That
things.
would imply that you could regulate yourself, Annie.
Yes, well, and I'm a power thinking member, right? And I do get
Okay.
the tips every day. I do have the app,
Yeah,
so
it takes practice. It takes practice.
yeah.
But
No,
he's being a
I
good
think
salesman.
I think it takes practice, but it also takes looking at life differently. Really, I think it takes stopping and thinking, is this really helpful to anyone? You know,
Yeah, there's
really, I
a
think it takes
desire to change, isn't there? There's
yeah,
a
a
desire
desire
to
to
change.
change, to bring harmony to everything. I tell you where I learned this from. I learned this from my foster dad when I was a kid, when I was in foster care, right? And I never understood why, but only when I got older, that's how I realized what was going on. Every day he would just be like, "Yes, darling, yeah, yeah, yeah," and we were like, "Why is it so? Why is it so? So non-confrontational?" And the whole thing was keep the peace. I'm sure you can understand, Paulette. In foster care, there's no place for having Barneys in the house at all. Social workers will come down on you like a ton of bricks because you're distressing the kids, right? And so again, to now I'm at that age where I just learned to just find my peace. That's what it comes down to. I think it was find my peace and let others. If the wife wants to. The other day she got a parrot cage. I'm like, why we don't have a parrot? Why have you got a parrot cage? Right. I could have. There's no point having a Barney about it. You just have to look and just smile and say, right. I'll find out what's going through your head. And as Stanley says, let's not jump to judgments. Let's not start thinking we're mind readers. Let's let it go, and then have the conversation sometime.
Yeah.
And that's just how you have to live. Is it for a period? Is it for a season? Is it forever? Who knows, right? But just let's find peace amongst ourselves. Otherwise, nothing improves. The argument's not going to help anything.
Yeah.
Thinking that the wife is your enemy is not going to help anything. Thinking
True.
your husband is the enemy is not going to help anything either. But
Yeah.
but I think the point that you two have made is that it's not under your control necessarily. And I say so my role then becomes the one that Paulette is talking about, the one to bring calm and to hold fort whilst all the chaos happens. Someone's got to play the role, right? I think the last thing we want to do is give that role to our kids, or our neighbors, or our friends. We have to play the role because it's our family household. And that's the point, right? Men can be empathetic.
And if you think about, like I was saying, in mediation with children and courts and, divorces or even not even divorces, just where you're going into family therapy sessions, they're both trying to appoint the blame to somebody,
Yeah.
and they forget there's these kids involved in this situation. And as a result, no one's thinking with their mind, no one's thinking with their actual sensible thought, constructive mind. They're thinking with all the subconscious crap that's gone on in the relationship and throwing at each other and mudslinging, and that doesn't get anyone anywhere, and it doesn't move the case forward. So you go in the same situations, you come out. And so something like this could work very well. But in terms of the key of this room is menopause and females really trying to get you guys to understand. We want you just to listen, to just sympathize, empathize, but just listen. No solutions, no bunches of flowers and especially from the garage, because I can remember picking them up and putting them straight in the bin. So don't come home with a bunch of flowers from the garage. That is not a thoughtful thought. That is an afterthought, knowing you're late and that there's going to be an argument, right? So the bunch of flowers from the garage, You might as well brought me home some WD-40 or something, you know.
What is the garage? Is that a gas station?
Well, gas
Oh,
station
okay.
flowers, you know, the ones that are half
Okay.
dead and like all lying
Yeah,
there
yeah.
limp, been there for like 3 weeks, you know. They've not
Okay.
even got a day left in them, you know, and they're like,
Yeah.
and they come home with this half, you know, effort of flowers, and this is supposed to be the magnanimous apology, and
Yeah.
you're like, you know, having to deal with what you're dealing with, the children, da. And I can see why relationships break down so much in menopause, because people are trying to fix us when we're not fixable. In that state, we're not fixable.
Yeah.
It's let it burn out, you know, let the embers lie, and then unpick it. But unpick it quietly and gently between you two when the kids aren't around. It's not a family affair. It's a parent affair, you know, or an adult affair. Um, but as you and I both know, there is no control in that volatile state. It's just you've got something to say, something to get off your chest, and you just need to be able to do that, you know.
Yeah. And it's not that these things can't be learned, because you can still be in menopause, still have those fluctuations, but still, if you have the training, have that mindset to feel, because I could actually feel when it's coming on. For me, it feels like it's coming from my chest and radiating out. So before it gets to my head and takes over my whole body, I can stop it. I can start to talk to myself and say, okay, where is this coming from? What is the trigger? What is actually bothering me? So it may be a situation where I still need to talk to my partner. He still did something to trigger it, but it's the place I'm coming from, where it's okay, I've understood, okay, the menopause right now, I'm not in a position to talk about it. Let me step away. Let me go to my room. Let me lie down in the dark and listen to some music for a bit. Let me take a bath, something to break that cycle, that thought process. And then I could come out and talk. It does take some time, and this is where working with a coach, working with the app that Stanley talked about. These are some of the tools that you could use, but it also helps if your partner knows what's going on. And again, this is where the awareness, and this is why we do these shows. If your partner knows, okay, this is menopause, let me not join you on your journey. Let me step back. Let me just say yes there. Let me listen, whatever it takes. Let the moment pass, and then we could have a rational conversation. Right? So I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to get to some of the questions, and I saw a couple questions come in. Oh, Tanik said her shows are Thursday at 12. Okay, so I was not going mad. I did remember. Look at that. And one thing I did hear you mention, Paulette, when you were talking, and I can't remember, but coming from a place of love and grace, always coming from that place of love. So before you say something, think about it. Is this really important to say now? And I love how Annie rephrased it. If your partner was sick, if this was the last day on earth, is this argument really necessary? Is this really the important thing you want to discuss right now? And a lot of times the answer is no. So it's not that I'm saying not to validate what you're feeling and the topic isn't important, but in the grand scheme of things, if this was the last week on earth, is this something we need to argue over? And if the answer is no, maybe we could shelve it. Maybe we could schedule a time. Okay, on Sunday, we need to have a discussion on XYZ. Or maybe this is something we could just ignore and move on, right? Depending on what it is. So I love how you frame that. Do you want to bring up some of the questions before we go? Because I know it's going to get, it's getting late where you all are. You're muted. And you're muted, yeah.
Asked of
Well,
you, what's your experience and insights? What's your experience and what insights will you share with us about your communication equity practice, please? Yes, it's your show, so yeah.
I think um, every case is different, and this is why I'm an observer of people, and I just love people. It may not seem that way sometimes, it may not feel that way sometimes, but I take it on a case by case basis, and I really try to meet the needs of the individual. So I don't have a one size fits all policy when it comes to anything. Because in my experience, every woman's journey is unique. It depends on where she is in the world, her age, culture, what she has to deal with. So if she has a partner, if she has children, maybe she lives alone, what type of work she does. It depends on so many things. But I think at the end of the day, coming from a place of love and gratitude, learning to forgive yourself, learning to say, okay, this is where I am right now. What do I need to change? Giving yourself that moment of peace to listen to see, okay, do I need to make a change in my life? Do I need to do something else? Am I really happy? Is this what I want to do for the next 10 years? All of these questions we start asking ourselves. So that's what I'll say. I don't have a written XYZ because every situation is different. But for me, making sure those lines of communication are open, making sure, okay, we set up a system where you can talk to your partner, you could talk to your kids. Because I don't just counsel the woman, I counsel the family, I counsel your partner. Whatever your needs are, we make sure that those lines of communication are open. Whatever your specific needs are, we meet those. So I hope I answered your question, Natalie.
What's yours, Paulette? What's your communication equity practice?
I guess listening. I think if you try to listen,
Yeah.
that is a good start. And then from listening, you should be able to ascertain what it is you need to do. 9 times out of 10, communication breakdown is because one party isn't listening. It's not for anything else, but that you're talking to a brick wall. Or they're triggering you left, right, and center because they haven't actually listened to what. So you could say something like, should we watch Sanso series on the telly on Thursday? And the response is Liverpool playing Sanso on Thursday. But what's that got to do with anything, right? I don't get the you've asked a question about shall we watch this show, and then you get just Liverpool playing Sanso. Well, how does that affect? I don't get what the correlation is. Well, the correlation is that I'm doing this. You watch your show, right? But it was supposed to have been us watching the show, and that's an example of where one person, neither are in the wrong. Both have had a conversation in their, back to what Stanley was saying, both are having conversations in their mind about, I'm looking forward to the match on Thursday. I'm looking forward to the series on Thursday, right? So they both had those conversations in their mind. So when you come to have the conversation together, one answers the other with a statement that has got no relevance to the other person. And that's how these arguments often start. So for me, I think experience, being old, helps. And I think having lots of different kinds of people in my life, and have had all different kinds of people, you do learn that. I've had people complaining about females in the office weeping, like they're always bloody crying, and I've had to say, have you upset them? No. Okay, fine, let me speak to them. And you go to the female and you ask, are you okay, or what's happened? And the lady will say, I'm a bit hormonal at the moment and you triggered me, pressed the wrong buttons. And I'm like, okay, so did you say stuff you shouldn't have said? Maybe. Okay, fine. So do you think tomorrow you can shake hands and put it all behind you? Yep, great, no problem. Okay, let's deal with it tomorrow, right? Now, I know that her age, I'm looking at her, I'm making judgments. I didn't say, oh, by the way, question, are you menopausal? You just go, okay, I recognize those signals of irrational crying to like maybe 4 times a day when actually there isn't due cause really, but you are emotional, your emotions are in tatters and you can't get control on that one day. On the day after, you might be completely fine and you can have a rational conversation and say, oh, my hormones are all over the place, I'm sorry about yesterday, and everyone goes, oh great, back on with it. There's no reason to make judgments or be critical or hold it against people or make it into a big, he said, she said. You can actually nip it in the bud. And I think that's the key. So that's my way of dealing with it, Annie.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it helps to have people around you who are understanding and who have empathy, I suppose, like who understand where you're coming from. I guess the thing that no one needs to say is a fighting partner. Yeah, that's what no one needs. You don't need someone that's gonna, is always ready to go to war. No, there's no winners, right? Like
Yeah.
Lisa said earlier, sometimes just let it go and it goes away.
Yep.
99% of the time I say it will go away. Never mind what's said, never mind what the conversation topic is.
This too will pass.
Yeah.
It always does in my household, right? He always does. It just goes, and you're like, yeah, thank goodness, another day. Let's try again. I liked Alvin's comment. If I can find it. Mr. Curry, I mentioned you earlier. Okay.
Lower down.
Am I getting near it? Yeah, I think.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. As Alvin says, in my opinion, adults need to be raised, emotionally speaking, need to be raised to learn emotional intelligence. I suppose that's what you said, Alvin. It's impossible
Yeah.
to help children with their own emotions otherwise. That's so true, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, look, emotional regulation is a good thing. I say, like, there's many ways that we can learn. I say, power thinking is one. Let me show you his just a standard promo video. And then I say download it. I mean, it's just half the
Um.
price from where
So
it was.
let's just run really quick because time is running out and I do have another
Okay,
meeting.
I haven't got any more on my. I said, I don't, if you see more
Um.
than yours, then that's cool. You go for it. Which one?
So
Which one?
Dr. Marcia higher up was asking if we believe impulse control is more difficult for women than men.
In menopause, everything I've heard so far, I haven't got that question in front of me, Lisa.
Yeah, but that's a hormonal issue, so it's not really
Mm,
coming from the woman, it's coming from a more medical place. I think it depends on the person. I maybe people will generalize and say that women are more um, difficult to control their emotions. I think that's something that people perpetuate for whatever their needs are. I wish we would just stop generalizing these things, and as Alvin was saying, we need to somehow find a way to train adults with that emotional intelligence. I'm not sure how some sort of I don't know how do we get to the masses with this thing, but I
Jack and
think
Water box. What would
yeah,
water
I think well,
basically?
we are lucky that on LinkedIn we're connected with such
Mm,
great people that have these shows that could talk about it.
mm,
The app which we'll show closer to the end of the after we get through the questions, we'll show that app. So that's another way. So
mm.
there are tools we can use. It's just to get it to the masses so that we get more positivity in the world.
Yeah, and it's
Oh
not
my.
fair to just blame women, Lisa. You're absolutely right. We don't choose these headaches. We don't choose all the various list of nth number of things that happen to us. And it's not fair to say, you know, like I said, when the guy said she's really emotional, she's always crying or whatever, and I go, and have you upset her? I immediately blame him. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, it me. She just, you know, you know, and then I'm like, okay, let me get to her. So at least I've given him a bit of a roasting by asking if he's the one that's caused the problem.
But he
And
said in his mind, he said no. And
yeah, no, in his mind, no,
in
absolutely.
her mind, he said something to
Yes.
trigger her.
Yeah,
But
he triggered her. Yeah.
when you said it, I was thinking, well, he doesn't know those are triggers for her.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
So again,
afterwards, they can talk about it the
have the
day after
conversation. Yeah.
and say, listen, when you keep saying to me, get another box of tissues, that is really like just setting the place on fire. You
Yeah.
know, that just don't speak to me like that because I don't need it. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm weepy. Yes, I'm aware. I'm still trying to type and the letters are all moving around because the tears, but I'm still trying to put, you know, my hours in and put my effort in. And he was really quite like, whoa, you know, it's hard
Mm.
to know what women are dealing with if we're not told. And it's back to the emotional intelligence thing. You
Yeah.
know, how do we expect men and women to respond in an adult and mindful way if they've never been shown or never had the role models to follow, never seen that at home to,
Yeah.
you know, to follow in a footstep of somebody. Most of us have had women in our lives, certainly in my age group, who just got on and suffered because that was the only way that they had to deal with it. It was like put up and shut up, you know,
Yeah.
because otherwise you know the chap's going down the pub more often than not, you know. So I think there is a change and a willingness now to listen, and people like you have done amazing things to bring this out in the open. You know, it's not like we're talking, you know, there was one lady you had, Annie, that was very talking about sex, or you know, her sessions are all about sex and things, and I would find myself like zoop, and I'd be like, you know, I'm not talking, you know, I'm not any big like, Paulette, come off and say no way, because there's just like no. But because I know you'll throw a question my way that I will just be so flummoxed with, you know, because
Yeah.
that's Annie's idea of fun. But the point it is, you say this, but you know the
You make me
point
sound evil.
you
I'm not
are
that.
you are
No,
pure.
no,
You are
no,
at
yeah,
times. You are at
no,
times.
no, no, no. Look, I laugh
No,
because
you have a little bit of a sense of that would be quite fun to see her struggle with that, you know,
it's
Yes.
not
and I just
me.
know that. Yeah, I know.
It's not me.
It's good TV.
Look,
I
Yes.
yesterday
know,
I
Annie.
spoke
It's
to
good
It's good
someone.
entertainment.
TV.
Yesterday I spoke
He's a
to
good
someone
producer.
who, you know, who talks intimacy, and I thought of you straight away. And Lisa,
Yeah, I
I
bet
know,
you
I know
did.
your kids listen to it, so
Hi.
it's cute. She wants to talk
No.
about intimacy. I'm like, yeah,
Not with
let's do
us.
it. Let's do it. Let's
No.
do it. You know.
You're
And then
behind your
don't forget
blankets. You
our
don't even know
friend,
it's happening,
don't
sir.
forget our friend Joni, and not Joni you're thinking about, the one that's a sexologist. I'm like, cool. They all come together now. Jackie talks romance and relationships. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
not me. There's just these conversations. They're there. But today
Well, I
is the
don't know the other
key.
person, but Jackie talks about it in a way that we can all be in the room and be comfortable, right? So I can't vouch for the other person. So,
Yeah.
Lisa,
it was
how many
run.
conversations have we had where we've been talking to a blanket?
Many.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
many. So
So
let's not even.
you know, don't be coming for us because we don't want to be, you know, exposed to the sexy
Yeah.
time, you know?
If we start talking about
No.
certain topics,
It's
all of a
not
sudden the
about
screen will
sex.
go
It's
blank.
about love. It's about
Yeah.
being your whole self, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's,
But
it's
we
about
will
all of
have more conversations on that in any case. So
that. Mm.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
Lisa's sort of way of doing it.
yes. Or
Mm.
Yeah.
Jackie's nice and calm
Nice
and
and gentle and
yes.
you know,
Inviting,
PG
yes.
plus, PG
Yes, we'll
just,
keep
you
it
know,
PG.
PG plus a little bit. Not going straight to an 18 plus, thanks. But you
Yes.
know, I mean, I just think that we really do have to be so grateful to have platforms and people that are willing to listen and to learn that menopause is something that happens. Periods start at 9 in my case when I was little, which I didn't know what the heck was going on. This is before teachers or you had nurses coming in to talk to you. And that was really scary. And I'm so grateful that nowadays that is something that is absolutely a done deal. It happens in every school throughout the land. And we should have these conversations exactly the same way, that these things happen. This is it. There's over, what is it, 130 or something?
About 130 symptoms of menopause.
See, I did listen. So about 130. So, if you think about that, that's 130 things that men need to know that their potential partner could be going through. Or women, but the partner needs to know just how difficult things can be. And if we don't have these rooms and we don't have these conversations, then it disappears, just goes onto the carpet again.
So let me thank everyone for being here, because what we'll do is play Annie's video for, I don't even know what is the name of the video, but thank you everyone for the comments, for engaging with us. We will be back next 2 weeks with another conversation on menopause. But now Annie will show us a video going back to what Stanley was talking about, his app to help with emotional intelligence. I think it's a really wonderful thing he's doing, and I don't think the cost of it is a monthly cost. It's not very expensive. So I think it's something that we all should look into, and Annie will put a link in the comments after, but let's take a look at the video before we close off the show.
No need for the link. I'll put the link in the comments, but no, there's a QR code on the video, so you can just scan the video.
Oh, okay, great.
Or come back and watch the replay if you miss your chance at the end of the video.
Yes.
But I'll put the text link. Canva doesn't make it easy, but basically it's a video that shows you what the Power Thinking app is. It's okay, short. Great. Here goes, my friends.
It's time to change the way you think. Download the new Power Thinking Corp app, available now in your app store.
I'm saving you.
It's
you can watch.
time to change the way you think. Download the new Power Thinking Corp app, available.
Stop. Now you can watch my QR code for the next 30 seconds if you wanted, but I'll save you that hassle, right?
Yes,
let
please.
Let me go to my comments because I'm kind that way. Okay, so download the Power Thinking. No, look, it's a useful app. Of course, it's positivity and the ability to think powerfully in your pocket, in your hands. That's what it is, right? And I guess everything that Power Thinking does. So Stanley does events on Wednesdays, 2 events. So there's an early Power Thinking event, and then there's a late one. The early one is at 12:30 UK time, and the late one is at 2:30 UK time. And if you're brave enough to go to both of them, if you are a true trooper, then off you go, right? But saying that, you do get tips, you do get insights. There's self-assessment tools. You can chat with other members as well. So it's worth it for what an app can do. And so something I always say is, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. Sadly, they're mostly negative. And the whole point of this app, Empower Thinking, is to help you think positively, to think powerfully, is what he always says, right? So,
Okay.
there's resources to help us, and it's unlike mindset coaches that we tend to know who want to give you the long version. Power Thinking is this snappy, bite-sized, principles and lessons. That's why I like it. My little brain can handle that, right?
Okay. Just wanted to say hi to Annie Foster. Natalie said that she's listening in, but she's healing from cataract surgery. So sending
Yeah,
love and prayers to you, Annie, and
yeah,
thanks for being here. Hopefully, we'll see you soon, and you heal up well.
Lots
yeah,
of love, Annie.
yeah. And there's not at least I'm glad the operation's been done. The cataract operation's been done. So it means you'll be on the mend from now, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So thank you for joining us. So we do appreciate you. I'm just sharing the link now. Let's hope it shows up because LinkedIn looks a bit frozen, from my understanding. No, that didn't quite work
Yeah.
the way we wanted, Lisa. That didn't quite work the way we
Yeah, before Restream kicks me out again, let's tell the people good
wanted.
night. I'll
Yes.
see you next 2 weeks, 5 p.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody.
So are we early next time, or are we back to our normal time?
Um, I don't know. We could talk about it after because this thing is getting. I'm getting a black screen.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're panicking. Yeah, I'm sure it's not
Yeah,
you. I'm sure
before it cuts me off again.
it's Restream gracing you with this amazing
Yeah.
genius.
All right.
Right. All right. So give
Take
me
care,
a second.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Bye. I got to end the show. You got to wait a second. You can't hurry me like that. Yeah. Okay. Lisa, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. All right. So I got to do what I got to do. Then I'll play our closing music. Okay. All right.
Just talk amongst yourselves,
I
little
do.
song and
I
dance.
do. No one cares. That's. Yeah. I press buttons, right? So I might as well do what I'm going to do. Okay. So have I done what I wasn't meant to do, Paulette? Have I done what I meant to do? Yes, I have. Okay. There you go. Download the Power Thinking app. Use that link and the QR code. Or the QR code. You don't do anything else. Yeah. Otherwise, and I don't get credit for it, and that would really upset me. Anyway, enjoy. Bye, Lisa. Bye, Paulette.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye. Beliefs. Yes, beliefs.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com and celebrating with her without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.